Here's what I'd like you to do. Energy is a habit. So before we do anything else, if we do it in low energy, it's not going to have an impact. In fact, we did a study with Stanford. They did a study on us. They took one of my seminars. Two of their professors went through one of my 6-day programs. And it's an immersion program. And they were both clinically depressed. And they came back with no symptoms of depression, got rid of their drugs. And they said, this is unbelievable. We'd love to do a study. Do you have any data? I said, well, I got millions of graduates. They go, no scientific data. I said, well, happy to have you do a study. They said, what do you want to study? They said, well, it was the middle of COVID. They said, there's so much depression. There's so many overdoses. I mean, the kind of impact you're having here seems profound. We'd love to do a study. I said, well, what would you compare it to? Like, what's the current studies when people get treated for depression with drugs and talk treatments? And they said, well, it's crazy. When you look at the meta-studies, which is a study of many different studies, you'll see, on average, 60% of the people make no improvement whatsoever, and they have all these drugs that have side effects. 40% improve, and on average, they improve 50%. They're half as depressed as they were. Very few people get cured. Some keep taking these antidepressants the rest of their life, and one of the side effects is suicidal thoughts. It says it right on the box, right? Just crazy. By the way, last year, 2 years ago, 2022, on the cover of Newsweek, they showed through these new studies that these SSRIs don't work at all, but we still sell them. It's completely insane. They numb you. They don't deal with the actual challenge. And so I said to them, well, you could almost get that result, 40% improvement with a placebo. They said, maybe. And I said, what's the best study you've ever done? And they said, the best study was done 5 years ago at Johns Hopkins, and they gave people 30 days of psilocybin, this is magic mushrooms, and therapy for 30 days, cognitive therapy. And at the end of that, I said, you should have had it changed by that time, 30 days of drugging them out. And they said, yes, it was the most result they'd ever seen. At the end of 6 weeks, 54% of the people had no symptoms whatsoever of depression. They said it's the greatest result we've ever seen in the history of psychiatry. And I said, well, that's wonderful, except you can't do these drugs in most places, right? They said, that's true. I said, well, let's do the study. You set it up, compare it just like you did the Johns Hopkins, secondary group to compare it to. And they did. The results, to cut to the chase for you, were so dramatic, they were afraid they'd get canceled. So they sent out the data to 3 different private groups that evaluated it, and they all came up with the same result. After attending the program, just to give you an idea, these people changed their patterns of thinking, feeling, and being. They found that not one person, 100% of the people, had no symptoms whatsoever of depression. How's that for a nice result, ladies and gentlemen? And 17% of the people who had suicidal ideation, constantly thinking of committing suicide or attempting it, not one had done it. 11 months later, they followed up. Nobody with depression, even better. 70% reduction in negative emotions, 50% reduction in positive emotions overall across the board. So, and I never saw them again. So I want you to know the reason I usually do things in immersion 12 hours a day, 4 days in a row, here we only have a couple hours, 2.5 hours or so, is in the immersion, we change your biochemistry. And one of the ways we do it is we use music and movement, and we do things emotionally so that you have a shift. If I asked you where you were at 9/11, how many remember exactly where you were the moment you heard about it, saw it, you can remember it in detail, right? Almost all of you. On the other hand, if I asked you where you were on 8/11 of the same year, you don't know, because there's no biochemical change. So that's what we do in events. And so we're going to kind of mimic that here, even though we're in this little room together here. I don't have my big studio. We have a $20 million studio, and everything's magnified. You can see it and interact with us. But I need you to at least do the part of your energy. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to try something simple. Shake your body out. Shake it out. And one way that changes your energy is sound. How many of you like to sing when no one's around? How many like to sing when no one's around? In your car, you're singing, you're rocking, you're rapping. You get the stoplight, you're still singing. The person next car is staring at you. You pick up your phone, act like you've been talking to someone the whole time, right? But the truth is, we love to sing even though it doesn't sound good because the way it makes us feel. So just right now, wherever you are in the room, make a sound of excitement. Just make the sound of total excitement. Go ahead, try it. Sound will change us, but also movement will change us. So here's what we're going to do. In a moment, I'm going to ask you, some of you, there's someone in the room with you I can see in Zoom. Those of you on YouTube and on Facebook, I can't see you, but I'm reading your notes here as it's going by so fast. Thank you for sharing with me. But what I want you to do is see someone on the screen if you don't have anybody with you. If somebody's with you, you can point directly. I want you to point at somebody on the screen, whether they see you or not. Or if there's somebody beside you, I want you to point at them and go, I own you. Go ahead, try it. Go ahead. When you say I own you, what you're saying is, I challenge you, you low energy person. Now, even though some of you can't see each other because you're at home, just pick somebody you're going to like compete with them. How many of you are competitive humans out there? How many consider yourself to be competitive? You know, the word competition in Latin means to conspire together. When I'm competing with you, I'm conspiring to make you better and me better. If I'm going to play basketball with you, I'm going to push you as hard as I can. I want you to push me as hard as you can. You push me hard, I'm going to get better. I push you hard, you're going to get better. By competing, we make each other better. All right? So let's do a little competition. When I say now, you're going to point somebody on the screen, or if there's somebody with you, you can point to that person directly and go, I own you, no, I own you, and I own you. Then we're going to clap. We're going to go 1, 2, and when I say 3, I'm going to ask you to unleash your energy. I want you to go in a state like a little kid celebrating like crazy, not a boring adult who goes, yay. Right? But like, oh yes, here it is. I want you to make the sounds. I want you to jump. I want you to leap for just about 30 seconds and try and outdo that person's energy on the screen. Now, you want to stand up for this. I'm seeing you there, Ryan Richards. You're not standing up. I'm watching you, brother. Come on here, Susan. I see you too. Okay? So are you ready? Point at somebody on the screen and go, I own you, baby.